right, everybody, welcome to BO Boys for Sunday, March 30th. Fuck it, it's a raw feed. We're doing it live in studio. I'm Clayton.
Yeah, I'm Pat. So, Clayton, a lot of newbies in the top 5 this weekend. 4 newbies in the top 5. So, man, that must mean that we had a great weekend at the box office with all these new movies bringing new life to movie theaters, and everything must be great. Oh, effing no, actually not. My God, last week was a shit show. This is a full-on shit festival at the theaters this weekend. I mean, or am I wrong? Am I overblowing it here? Was this not a shit festival?
I don't think it was a shit festival.
Okay.
Let's plow.
Okay, you plow through this what you don't think is a shit festival. So if you could give us a plow for the box office weekend of Friday, March 28th, 2025, that would be great. Thank you.
Number 1, A Working Man, $15.2 million in its first frame. Number 2, Disney's Snow White, $14.2 million, down 66%. It's at $66.8 million in its second weekend of release. Number 3, The Chosen, Last Supper, Part 1, $11.4 million in its first frame. Number 4, another newbie, The Woman in the Yard, made $9.4 million in its first frame. Number 5, Death of a Unicorn, A24's latest stinkeroo, $5.7 million in its first frame. Let's just go down one more.
Okay.
Because we got a Miramax sighting. This was released by Miramax.
So he's back?
I don't know if he's back.
Okay,
but
different
Princess
owners, right.
Mononoke is back. Made $4 million in only 330 theaters.
Okay.
And cumulative over many years, the movie has made $14.9 million.
Okay. Princess Mononoke, is that Studio Ghibli? Is that who that is? Am I asking the right person?
You're asking the wrong person.
The wrong person. Here's the thing, though. As I've been seeing online, apparently anyone could animate anything now. That's the big news that dropped last week, is that everyone is now an animator.
Well, we could make our show a Studio Ghibli looking thing if we wanted.
Exactly the same artistic craft and creativity and enjoyment. We could just do that ourselves. So is Princess Mononoke, is that the one that the original animators made, or is this a movie that someone on Twitter X put out?
This is it could be the Twitter. Oh, is there supposed to be? Oh, okay. Yeah, this has more K's than I remember.
Okay. Princess Mononoke?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I see. So it's the Twitter X version. Yes, it's Princess Mononoke KK.
Yeah,
okay, so it's a Twitter X version of that animation. Listen, anyone could do it.
Anyone.
That is what we've learned. Everyone on Earth now is an animator of the highest level.
So the original one was a Studio Ghibli.
Okay.
And it is the great Miyazaki.
Directed
this. So, yes.
So the movie Princess Mononoke, that's at number 6, is his original work. It's not someone making a Studio Ghibli The Office trailer.
No.
That didn't come in number 6 this week.
No.
It wasn't people lining up to go to the movie theaters to see what if South Park was Studio Ghibli.
Yes.
That's not this.
Yeah. What if Cartman was Princess Mononoke?
See, I mean, is there a difference, though, between Princess Mononoke animated by Miyazaki versus what if Family Guy was Studio Ghibli and he was eating a sandwich?
I mean...
And you get 3 seconds of a loop of Cleveland from Family Guy eating a sandwich, but he looks like Studio Ghibli. Isn't that what people want?
I mean,
that's not number 6 at the box office, though? You're saying
it's not. But if people continue their trends of not spending money and putting their money where their mouth is for quality entertainment, then that is what they get, and that's what they'll love, because that's all that they'll deserve.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will see. But you're saying number 6 this week was Miyazaki's Studio Ghibli.
Studio Ghibli.
Not
Princess Mononoke.
okay. Got
Yeah.
it. All right. Interesting. Good for them. For now.
Mhm.
So a lot of newbies in this top 5. I would like to start with my boots on the ground reporting.
Mm.
What I saw that came in number 5.
Well, did your butt touch the ground when you got compact and squatted?
I squat this
Okay,
weekend.
you
I did
squatted
my
this week.
squats.
You did your squats.
I
You did a squat.
I did a
The
squat.
most important squat.
I mean,
The God squat.
this was the squat that really works the muscles here. I squatted side by side with the compact critic himself, Chris Clemmer.
Chris Clemmer.
We went to go see Death of a Unicorn and then did, thrill of a lifetime.
Yeah.
I got to be the guest co-host on the Compact Critic this weekend. This
Yeah.
is like when Siskel, R.I.P.,
R.I.P.
Rest in Popcorn,
Mhm.
when he was sick, and then Ebert would have guest co-hosts, and it would be the biggest spot in Hollywood is you got to be a critic alongside Roger Ebert
It was Roger Ebert and the movies.
and the movies.
Yeah.
And you would get to be, and that's where I got to be, except this time no one had to be sick.
Yeah.
I got to be next to America's
Well, one
greatest
person
critic.
is sick from seeing this, I'm sure. Is Podcast Jesus, Kirk Minahan.
Well,
Is probably has an upset tummy
he's
from
sick.
seeing you.
He's not sick. He's sickened
He's sickened.
by
You're
my
right.
lack of loyalty, which I've already said I will not be loyal.
Yeah.
So he understands.
You might as well have been holding a knife in your hand during that
Okay.
review.
Okay.
The one you
because I stabbed
stabbed Kirk in the back with.
Sure, but
Well, actually, no. You stabbed him in the front.
I stabbed him
so
in the
I'll at
front.
least
He
give you that.
knows.
You stabbed him in the front.
listen, I've now seen 2 movies with the Compact Critic Chris Clemmer
Yeah.
before I've ever seen a movie with Podcast Jesus Kirk.
So you might as
Minahan.
well see 1,000 movies.
At this point, what's it between 1, 2, and 1,000?
That's
but-
so the way you would think.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And you still will not see a movie with us until you've seen a movie with Kirk.
I can't.
So you missed out. Well, actually, you didn't miss out on a good movie, but you missed out on being on the Compact Critic live on its TikTok and Twitter X, and that video, it's going wild, and
Yeah.
people are loving it. So we reviewed Death of a Unicorn after we saw it. Compact Critic, he gave it a thumbs up. He enjoyed the movie. He had a good time at this movie, and I'm not a critic, huh?
Huh?
And I love the people commenting on the video. I thought Pat wasn't a critic, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Love those comments.
Mm-hmm.
The catchphrases, seeing them out there in the wild, that's what we love.
It's great.
And
You feel like the Where's the Beef lady?
yes, imagine getting to be her back in the 70s, walking down the street, people just screaming in her face, "Where's the beef?"
I think it was the 80s, but still.
Well, maybe in the 70s they were just yelling that at her because she worked at a deli.
Yeah.
And then she got the commercial
where's
in the
the
80s.
Beef lady.
Right. And
she's
then
like,
she's
the
like,
roast beef is coming up.
yes. But then years later when she got cast, she's like, it's so ironic that I'm
Yeah.
getting to do
Nothing's
this on
changed.
television.
But also, like,
The money's changed.
the money's changed.
The money's
True.
changed.
She doesn't smell like pastrami.
No.
Yeah.
She smells like greenbacks.
It
Because
was
she
like
was,
cabbage.
God, to be the Where's the Beef lady in her prime, or be with her in her prime, that's living the life.
Smoke. I mean, it was Jane Fonda.
Yeah.
It was Farrah Fawcett.
Yes.
And it was Where's the Beef?
Those were the 3 posters you had to have
Yeah.
on your wall. So, love seeing I'm not a critic, huh? But I
Huh?
got to be a critic, huh?
Huh?
When I saw Death of a Unicorn this weekend. I gave it a big thumbs down.
You gave it a 5, I remember.
I gave it a
5.5.
5.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
It was, you understand why this movie underperformed even what we thought it would do. We thought Jenna Ortega, it's going to make at least 10 million because she's got fans.
I didn't think that.
You didn't think that. That's true. I thought that. I don't fault her or her star power at all for this movie coming in under even those expectations, because this is a movie that it's not a horror movie,
Yeah.
or does not give horror fans those horror thrills until late in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And as a comedy, it doesn't work at all. And it's just more A24 nonsense for here. Okay, here's what I was thinking watching this movie.
Okay.
Is that Death of a Unicorn is the type of movie that in the 80s and the 90s would be an underground gonzo movie that would be more gonzo and wouldn't have stars,
No.
but would be more fun to the people who find a movie like this fun.
Yeah.
And then Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega type stars, if they were in the 80s and 90s, would either get to be in actual comedies that took place in the real world or lawyer movies.
Mm-hmm.
And adults would be able to see those movies. Or teenagers who want to see a comedy or, whatever.
Yeah.
Or if Paul Rudd's in a James L. Brooks movie, obviously not How Did You Know? But like those type of movies.
Yeah.
If they were movie stars in the 80s and 90s. Now, with A24, it's those movies that should be sort of gonzo underground movies, but they put movie stars in them.
Yeah.
And other than once in a while, they're just not for anyone.
Yeah.
And I think that is a problem, a bigger picture problem that we have with the movies now.
Yeah.
Is that everything is geared for children, kind of. Like, do you see what I'm getting at here? I feel like Death of a Unicorn really opened up a lot for me of why the movie business and the theatrical movie business is in trouble now. Because who is this movie really for?
Well, I think I've mentioned this. I've said this on the show, and I see where you're getting at. There's like, when people say they want adult movies, what is an adult now?
What is an adult?
That's
Yes.
the question, is that this is a movie that's aimed at adults.
Yeah.
Because that's what an adult is now, is somebody who would see a unicorn murdering people movie.
Right.
Right? With the sort of humor, I'm assuming, that you would get from a low-tier Marvel movie.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, it's the same sort of humor that someone like Ryan Reynolds has made his bread and butter.
Yes.
The sort of, I'm going to speak in a way that sounds like a joke,
Yes.
but there's no actual joke there.
Yes. Yes.
There's no, and
Paul Rudd does the best he can with that.
And this kind of movie that you're talking about would be like A Night of the Comet or something like that, where you have dramatic moments and then comedic moments, and the reason why those collide in the way that they do is because these are not professional filmmakers.
Right. It
Right?
should be Frankenhooker.
Yeah.
Death of a Unicorn should be, and the best version of it is a lower budget movie that is a cult movie.
Yeah.
And is directed at that audience and is more gonzo and is Frankenhooker.
Yeah. But those sort of, the problem is these movies are too self-aware now.
Yes.
Where
yes.
people used to make crazy movies because they were maniacs.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
this person who wrote and directed this movie is, to all intents and purposes, probably not a maniac.
Is probably
Could
not
be a monster, could be a great person. We don't know.
We don't know, but definitely not a maniac.
But not a maniac.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's the problem, is there's nobody who's really a maniac who's able to make movies that are distributed at any level. Maybe on Tubi, possibly, but like there's just not that level of movie that where you can really make something gonzo on a budget that then can be released into theaters. And I think they're trying to, this person was trying to make an automatic cult movie, and you can never do that.
Yes. It's so self-conscious.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the ceiling on a movie like this is just so low. And the theaters need as much product as possible. So that's why a movie like Death of a Unicorn gets as many screens as it gets. And obviously it has stars in it. But that's because those stars aren't in the kind of movie studios used to make, which was Paul Rudd getting to be in a movie like A Working Girl or a Broadcast News, or in the 90s being in a Farrelly Brothers movie. And Jenna Ortega, Jenna, has to do a movie like Death of a Unicorn as opposed to the kind of star vehicles she would have gotten in the 90s, 80s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
So they're in stuff that should be Frankenhooker, but should be made by a psycho. And be kind of straight to video and then get a cult following.
Yeah.
Instead of being made by someone who's not a maniac and probably just like a fairly boring, nice guy or monster.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, not someone gonzo enough to make something actually super interesting.
I mean, I see in the write through Anthony D'Alessandro is really going after Jenna Ortega
Okay.
about why can she not open a movie
Nope.
when Hugh Grant, a 60-year-old man, opened Heretic to over 10? What's wrong with Jenna Ortega
Well,
in his estimation? I think that's wildly unfair.
Well, first of all, I take issue with the way he wrote that line.
Okay.
But I'm just looking for that right now. So the line is A24 rarely opens movies north of double digits. This is slightly under the 6.5 million 3-day opening of Midsommar. But damn, and this is from Anthony D, is for Disney D'Alessandro. But damn, Heretic with a 64-year-old Hugh Grant opens at $10.8 million.
Where's the umbrage?
What does
For you.
age have to do with it? Why is he calling out that Hugh Grant is 64 years old?
Because Jenna is a young star.
Okay.
And he's saying that, this is my assumption, I can't get into that beautiful brain of his, but my assumption is that he has the issue of, this is a star that has been doing things for 30, almost 40 years
I mean, that's
now.
an advantage, though, to the public. I mean, Hugh Grant has the advantage. Hugh Grant has the advantage of...
Well, does Nick Nolte have this advantage?
Yeah. Well, okay. There's points where then the advantage has diminishing returns. But Hugh Grant has the advantage of being famous and never having the fall-off that Nick Nolte has. We've never seen the Hugh Grant... Well, I was just about to say... But Hugh Grant's mugshot...
I got you.
Hugh Grant's mugshot...
Yeah.
Was, in the end, he turned that into an advantage in a way where Nick Nolte was never able to do with his mugshot.
Okay.
Because Hugh Grant had his mugshot from, of course, the Divine Brown incident.
Mm-hmm.
And he went on Jay Leno's show. Famously. What the hell were you thinking? Turned around the late night wars for Leno versus Dave. And I think Hugh Grant was able to ride that as a, look how cheeky I am. Boom, my star continues to rise after the mugshot. Nick Nolte got the mugshot, looked terrible in his mugshot. I mean, remember, Hugh Grant looked for that time, very handsome in his mugshot.
I disagree. I don't think that was I don't think he looked great in his mugshot. He looked better than Nick Nolte, of course.
He looked better than Nick Nolte in his mugshot. If you're telling a tale of two mugshots, I think Hugh Grant's mugshot is on a ascent for him, and Nick Nolte's on a full downscent. So
okay.
I do think that that's not a great comparison. I think that overall, Hugh Grant still has a lot more star power, at least recognition. Jenna Ortega is on her way up. I don't think the age thing should be, man, even if this old guy could get a movie to 10 million, why couldn't she? I think that's ageist, and I think that Anthony D is for, damn, this guy is too old, D'Alessandro.
Yeah.
Should maybe check his ageism at the door of the old age home.
Great. Okay.
That's what I got to say about that.
But
so the Jenna Ortega thing with Death of a Unicorn is a part that is not going to do anything to excite her fan base.
Yeah.
Because in the end, also in this movie, she gets the part of, and I think stars have to be careful of, I think a star like her, who she's got the moodiness.
Is she Wednesday again in this?
Well,
or she's the goth girl, or the
it's not even the
misanthrope.
gothiness. She is in the situation of being the character who keeps saying, I think we should not do the movie. In that she is such a, hey guys, this is a bad idea type of character.
Yeah. That
there's no fun that you're getting from watching her on screen.
Okay.
And I think for fans, that's not how they want to see their star.
She's a killjoy.
She's a total killjoy.
Yeah.
The character is. It's just every line she's given in this movie is like, hey, we shouldn't do that thing with the unicorn.
Okay.
Hey, maybe just go away from the unicorn. Hey, and not that this unicorn, I feel like we're letting this unicorn off the hook when we talk
Yeah.
about why this movie bombed. This is a terrible unicorn in Death of a Unicorn.
Okay, I was going to say, Jenna
Yeah, Jenna.
is going to be fine.
Oh, she's going to be fine.
Because she's still, even though she can't open a movie as well as old man Hugh Grant.
Yeah. You
I
say
think,
old man like your Anthony D is for damn. He's so old.
I was being facetious. There.
Got it. Okay, great.
Yeah,
great.
So I think she's gonna be fine. What does this do for unicorns? Because we had this conversation about Better Man.
Yeah.
And what this could possibly do with your apes, your monkeys, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Your primates, if you will.
Yeah.
And how did the failure of Better Man really put primates in a bad position when they had been in a pretty good position with that Planet of the Apes did pretty well. Of course, Kong, one of the biggest stars, really just keeping Godzilla relevant.
Right.
In a way that I don't think he gets credit for.
Right.
What is this movie going to do for unicorns? Are unicorns kaput at the theater?
I think unicorns are a total non-starter. You know, Better Man, as big of a bomb as that movie was, and what a disgrace that movie ends up being.
Calm down a little bit.
That is not going to be it's not going to be nearly enough to harm monkeys at the movies because of Kong, because of the apes movies. Like, monkeys have a long history of movie star monkeys.
Yeah.
Unicorns have nothing to point to.
Yeah.
And Death of a Unicorn is just another unicorn failure. I mean, we mentioned the Unicorn Store, the Brie Larson directed Star.
The Last Unicorn, the cartoon, was that a hit?
I don't think that was a hit. Was there, is Rainbow Bright, is she unicorn based? Does she ride a unicorn? Remember that cartoon from the 80s?
I do remember that cartoon.
I feel like she's got a unicorn situation. Right? Did she ride a unicorn?
It's quite possible.
It's quite possible. Write us, theboboyspodcast@gmail.com, if you have a daughter, a niece, you know, if you're a guardian of a child who watches Rainbow Bright. Don't write us if you watch Rainbow Bright and answer it. But if you have a child that you're the guardian of that could answer this for you, write us, theboboyspodcast@gmail.com. Let us know if Rainbow Bright had a unicorn. But I just can't think of a unicorn that has ever been a box office success. I don't think people want unicorns in the movie theater.
Last Unicorn came out November 19th, 1982.
Okay.
And its cumulative box office, $6.4 million.
Oh.
We had a movie called Killer Unicorn, June 11th, 2019. $39,000.
Okay. And you know what, though? That's probably closer to the kind of gonzo movie that Death of a Unicorn should have been.
Killer Unicorn.
Killer Unicorn. I just think unicorns.
Danny is your average Brooklyn party boy.
Okay. I mean, that's what people would have said about me back in the day.
This year, he and his friends couldn't be more excited about the upcoming Brooklyn Annual Enema Party, one of Brooklyn's biggest party events.
Okay. I'm with this so far. So far, this is a better premise for a unicorn movie than Death of a Unicorn.
And while the night starts out fun, it quickly takes a turn when Danny is attacked by a stranger. He survives, but now a year later, Danny decides to give his social life a second chance. Wrong choice.
Okay.
As Danny and everyone else who helped him that night are in danger. A man wearing a unicorn mask is killing off Brooklyn, one queen at a time, and he won't stop until he has his revenge.
Okay.
All right.
But Paul Rudd's not in that movie.
Cast.
Not Paul Rudd.
Let me see.
So
this is a 74-minute running time. So they know how to get in and out.
Yeah.
How long was Death of a Unicorn? Probably
Death of a Unicorn was an hour and 45 minutes.
Okay. That's too much.
That's too much. I say release that movie next weekend.
No Paul
in
Rudd.
The screens. that Death of a Unicorn currently has. Because, I mean, Death of a Unicorn is going to fall off a complete cliff next weekend. So you might as well put that unicorn killer, movie in those theaters and probably do about the same.
Mm-hmm.
I think unicorns are just something people do not want. I mean, the other thing about this Death of a Unicorn movie, it doesn't even make use of, when you think of a unicorn, what are just some of the traits that you think of with a unicorn?
Horn.
Okay, horn, it uses the horn's in it a lot. Is there anything else? Like, do you think of unicorns as being like bright, colorful?
Yeah, they're bright and colorful.
Like,
their hair is like rainbow colors.
Yeah, rainbow colored, like Lisa Frank style.
Lisa Frank.
And there's just nothing about that in this unicorn that they're playing with at all. And again, I'm not a critic, but I did see this movie. There's nothing unique about this unicorn. Not that I think that would have even drawn people. And I just don't think people care about unicorns.
They don't. I don't think they do. Now,
I think this movie's a death knell for unicorns. Like, if you have a unicorn-based script out there right now, just throw it straight in the trash.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how many years you've been toiling away on it. It's worthless.
Yeah.
It is worthless.
Yeah. Is there any way Variety could blame this on Jenna Ortega?
A hit piece. Do you think there's a hit piece that A24, would it behoove them to hire the Variety hit person to write an article blaming Death of a Unicorn on Jenna? I think this movie is budgeted low enough.
Okay.
I think it was budgeted, they spent like $15 million or less on it, that it doesn't reach the level that a studio needs to order a hit piece against the actress. You know, with Disney Snow White, that movie was such a financial loser. They spent $250 million. Those execs needed to order the Variety hit person.
They were protecting their jobs.
Yeah, but I think A24, this movie isn't that big of a deal for them.
Okay.
So no hit piece needed. I mean, do we want to talk about Snow White, or do we want to keep going through these newbies?
Well, since we
invoked it.
We did invoke it. Let's talk about it. I know we don't like to jump around, but let's talk about it.
Yeah. Let's do some House of Pain and jump around.
Okay, so we.
Yeah, I mean, get up and get beat down.
I think it's just get down.
And get down. Okay. Seems like get up and get beat down would have fit into the aesthetic of House of Pain.
But that's not really like a dance. You wouldn't want that to be part of the dance, to like get up and then get beat
down. But I think those guys were. I think they.
Were you thinking of Slam by Onyx?
No,
because they slam each other.
Slam.
Let the boys be boys.
Let the boys be boys. Yeah, I know that.
You know, they just let. I mean,
let the boys be boys.
Yeah. We need that more than ever now, more than ever, right? Let the boys be boys.
Yeah. Is that merch?
Although the boys
are punums on a shirt.
Let the boys be boys.
Let the boys be boys. Yeah.
Let the boys be boys.
Yeah.
I think so.
And then we just put Slam on the back.
Yeah.
So that avoids the copyright situation because we don't put it all next to each other.
That's really where the copyright claims come in. Is like if we put Onyx, Slam, Let the Boys Be Boys. But we're not even going to mention Onyx.
We're not even going to mention Onyx.
We're going to pretend that they didn't even have anything to do with it.
Yeah.
We came up with that ourselves.
Yeah. And if they see it, if Onyx were to see that merch, the B.O. Boys merch, where on the back of the shirt it says Slam, and on the front it says Let the Boys Be Boys under our punums, Onyx, they'd keep walking because they'd be like, you know what, good for them. I'm sure that they love the podcast.
Yeah.
You know.
They know the rules.
Let them get theirs, yeah.
Okay.
So let's jump around.
14.2.
Okay.
66% plummet for the princess.
Wow.
According to Anthony D. is for Disney.
Yeah, D is for Disney.
D'Alessandro.
Yeah.
So worse than Dumbo's second frame, worse than Maleficent, Mistress of Evil's second weekend.
Well, Maleficent, Mistress of Evil was the second one. That was the one that quote-unquote bombed.
Yeah.
Though, I mean, Disney wishes Snow White would do as well as Maleficent, Mistress of Evil.
Absolutely.
And that held to what, like 48% the second weekend?
48% decline. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
This is bad.
this is bad. So
66%
we
drop.
we wanted to wait and see,
Yeah.
and we waited
Yep.
and we saw.
Mm-hmm.
And this movie is dead. And I think a lot of the reason is because of everybody but us
Mm-hmm.
screaming to the clouds,
Mm-hmm.
this movie's dead, nobody's seeing it. And Anthony says that too. All the talk of how nobody's going to see this, nobody wants to see this, that is bad word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And that can kill a picture. And that's what this did. Because from what I've heard about this movie, is it's not a much loved movie, but if you see the movie, you don't hate it.
So
It's not a hated movie.
So on that note, I've got boots on the ground reporting right now that I'm going to read off my phone. We are YouTubers. Hey, guys.
Hey, guys.
So if you're watching on YouTube, you're seeing me read this in real time off my phone.
I'm going to take a sip.
I got boots on the ground reporting from Mama Stango, and she saw it with my nieces, her grandkids.
Okay.
Today.
Despite the tweets, they were able to put aside the tweets from 2 years ago.
Yes.
And your nieces saw this movie.
Yes, they saw it. They saw it despite the hit piece in Variety. They were able to say, even of course, my nieces, 4 years old, 7-year-olds, they read the Variety hit piece. They took all that inside info in, and they still wanted to see Disney's Snow White today. So Mama Stango took her grandkids to see that.
Past and future guest, Mama Stango.
Oh, she'll be back. I mean, in all of our message boards and the comments under the video, everyone wants her back. And, you know, when she gets an opening in her schedule, she'll be back. And obviously she's fielding offers from lots of media outlets in terms of where she needs to, what studio she needs to go to. But she did find time to text her son the following. She said that movie was great. I mean, her baseline though for movie is that movies are great.
Yes.
So this was then what that means is the movie was fine.
Yeah. Okay.
When she says movie was great, she means the movie was fine because
she knows all movies are miracles.
Yes. So she said that the companions were cute and believable to the kids.
Okay.
So she said they found them funny. And she says, my statement. So now this is my mom is making a statement.
Yes.
My statement is to go see it if you're young or a senior citizen. And she says the companions actually weren't called anything in the movie. So they did not name them in the movie. And she said, hi ho, it's off to work we go, and whistle while you work. And that is how she ended her statement.
That's great.
So I think the big thing to take from that is now we know the 7 companions, previously the dwarves in the early original version of the movie, are not called anything in Disney's Snow White.
So how do you, what do you call, listen, we have a posse.
Right.
You know, that's what we call our buddies.
Right.
But if you had a bunch of friends, you're not going to refer to them as anything?
Well, I mean, the B.O. Boys, we have our fan base, our legion out there, and we call them the Wanna B.O. Boys, Wanna B.O. Girls, Wanna B.O. People. And that's how we refer to them when we talk about them, when we speak to them. But Snow White in this movie, she avoids addressing these 7 figures as anything.
Yeah, they're just 7 people?
7, just 7, whatever.
Okay.
So they get around that in the movie. But I think it's exactly what you said, which is people don't hate this movie when they see it. But there's not huge enthusiasm for it.
No.
And I guess that right now are the kids falling out of the habit of going to see movies?
No.
No.
Because they saw Dogman.
They saw Dogman.
It's probably over 100 at this point.
Yeah. So there's just not enthusiasm for this.
Mm-hmm.
And there wasn't a big resurgence. This week does start when I think a lot of kids are out from school. The spring break starts now.
Yes.
So this is possibly the last gasp for Snow White to do anything, but Are we ready to call it though? Is this DOA? Could it be saved at all in this next week when kids are home from school?
I guess let's give it
Are we giving it one more week?
let's give it the week.
Well, so it's got
The
the
Daba
week.
days. We got to see the Daba days.
We'll check the Daba days, but then next Friday, a kids movie opens. A Minecraft movie is opening next week. So that's the one that could just fully end any business for Snow White.
In your dreams. Because
Well,
you
come on. Come on.
You
I drafted
it. But here's
this movie's not going to be Mario. I'm not sitting
No,
here
no.
saying Minecraft movie is
I
going to
get
be
it.
Mario, but it is a direct overlap with that audience.
Here I agree. And here's what I'm saying is that we need Minecraft.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that it could do very well for you in the league,
Yeah.
I think at this point with theatrical, after Snow White, after so many sort of movies that have not hit,
Yeah.
we
Brave New World.
need,
Yeah.
yes, we need Minecraft.
Yeah.
We need this very stupid looking movie to do stupid business.
Yes. Yes. But for Snow White, which is a movie that doesn't have any enthusiasm, that at
Yes.
this point is just relying on, well, kids need something to watch.
Minecraft is going to bury it.
Yeah, that ends Thursday night.
Yeah.
And so Snow White has 4 days of kids being home
Yeah.
to overperform. But what is the best case scenario for that? Slight overperforms Monday through Thursday compared to what it did last week. But
Yeah.
that's it. I think Disney Snow White needed this weekend to show, oh, it only dropped 44%.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen. It dropped 66.
Yeah.
So that's it for this movie.
Yeah.
I don't know what else there is to glean from how big of a drop there was here. People didn't want it. I don't know if the hit piece did anything. I mean, should Disney have waited one more week to drop the hit piece, though? Why would they drop the hit piece so early in the run when you know a hit piece like that is only going to generate negative publicity for the movie you already have out?
Yeah.
And only its like 4th day of release.
I think at the end of the day, they sort of knew this movie wasn't going to set the world on fire. So a lot of people were trying to save their jobs. And the quicker they could do that, the better for them.
Mm-hmm.
The quicker they could distance themselves from this complete tyrant
Rachel Ziegler, yeah.
who destroyed this movie single-handedly.
Right.
Even though she has barely been in any movies and has no real power in the industry, she was able to run rampant and single-handedly destroy this movie's chances of success, right? So they had to make sure that was known as soon as possible because it was the right thing to do.
Yeah. So I do want to bring this up now that we're talking about the Variety article that we talked a lot about this. I think this will finally be the end of us talking about this this article. But I got a text from Hollywood Insider Deep Popcorn.
Deep Popcorn. When's the last time we heard from Deep Popcorn?
It's, you know what? He's been quiet, but he's got some big things brewing. And he's on the inside of a lot of conversations out in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's blackmailing people and doing what he has to do to fill the bank account.
It's all part of the gig.
So, but Deep Popcorn, he popped out of the hole.
Okay.
To tell us, you know, because he heard us talking about the Variety hit piece and not a hit piece, and he says, here's a quote that you failed to mention from the hit piece, which was, and now I'm reading something from the Variety hit piece, not a hit piece.
Not a hit piece.
Quote, they say all press is good press, but in Snow White's case, they were unabashedly wrong, says box office analyst Jeff Bach of Exhibitor Relations. Too much negative controversy surrounding this film for years, and it didn't help that the reviews were subpar, rendering this live-action adventure a D+ for many ticket buyers. And so basically he pointed out, we did not mention that Jeff Bach, you know, our beloved guest, past guest, future guest,
Half man, half hype.
was quoted in the Variety article.
Was he quoted was this taken out of context?
Well, I think it's there, and we is that a failure on our part that we didn't mention Jeff Bach was quoted in the hit piece? Do you feel like he has any blood on his hands?
I mean, I'd have to talk to we'd have to talk to him about it because we shouldn't go off half-cocked
Right.
because we don't know what fully the question was that he was asked that he's responding to.
Right. And also, I would say he
'Cause it could have been
avoided talking about the target of the hit piece pretty much completely.
Yes.
So
He talked about the movie.
yeah. So I think Deep Popcorn was trying to text a big gotcha
Okay.
towards us.
Yeah.
And I think Deep Popcorn missed the target there.
I think so too.
I get it. Jeff Bach, our beloved family member here on the BO
Yeah.
Boys, he's in the variety hit piece, not a hit piece.
Not a hit piece.
But I think he kept his hands clean here.
Well, there also could have been he could have been answering a question that was a if I did it situation.
Yeah.
Where it's like, if this movie fails, what's possible reasons why it could fail?
Right.
And then he says that before the movie even failed. We don't know when he was asked these questions, right? Because when
Could have been 2 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, when you set up a hit piece, you can pick and choose the quotes you want to take out of context. So
Yeah.
we'll just have to ask Jeff
We'll have
Bach
to
when
have him
he's
on.
on for the next preview,
Yes,
which
summer
is
preview.
coming very soon.
Yeah, we got to get the summer preview. So we will have Jeff Bach on, and we will. We'll probably forget to talk about this, honestly. 'Cause
Yeah.
it'll be so far from now, and we got to stop talking about this
Yeah,
variety article. So
Absolutely.
that is the last time we will ever bring it up on the show. And honestly, I think this might be the last time we talk about Disney's Snow White, because this movie is going to be completely irrelevant in a few days. So
Yes.
let's talk some other newbies here. Do we want to talk about the Easter season right now? Do we want to move up to the number? Oh no, actually, before we talk about
Woman in the
Jesus,
Yard?
let's talk about Woman in the Yard. That's number 4, right?
9.4.
9.4.
9.4. This movie did better than we thought it was going to do.
Yeah.
I said it was going to do 7.
Yep.
It beat Death of a Unicorn
Yeah.
because it actually looked like a horror movie.
Yeah.
And this is like a solid opening for this movie, which I feel like didn't get a ton of promotion, at least that I know of.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's a Universal horror movie, sort of cheapy situation. Beat the A24 quote unquote horror movie, even though who knows what these movies are anymore.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's not much to say about this movie in the sense that I just don't know that much about it.
Yeah. So I think the big lesson from this movie and this opening ahead of Death of a Unicorn is that, and listen, it's a thing you say all the time. Horror comedy people don't want.
Yes.
Unless it's Wayne's Brothers related. I think the scary movies, obviously that works, but people want actual horror at the theater. They don't want horror comedy.
No.
And Woman in the Window in the Yard, it didn't have a lot of buzz. It didn't even seem to be offering that much horror, but at least it seemed like it was definitely that genre.
Yeah.
And it just shows, like, at a base level, if you're promising actual horror, you're good for at least that 7 million plus opening weekend.
Yep.
If you open it wide enough and it is definitively a horror movie, it's going to get you that, even with no stars, no great moment in the trailer. People just want to go to a movie theater for a baseline horror movie.
So this Woman in the Yard drew a lot of women.
Great.
Which is great because they were like, hey, representation.
Yeah,
I sit in a yard.
representation, so important.
Yes. Is important.
Yeah.
They
Thank you,
also
Frances McDormand.
They also did a gimmick with this where they had actors dressed like the woman in the yard in lobbies of movie theaters, next to the standees.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's sort of a smiler situation, low rent thing that you can do, pay somebody whatever an hour, sit in this cloak and scare people.
Okay. So, first question about that stunt.
Yeah.
Are the actors all women?
I would assume, but I don't have definitive proof.
Okay. So that gotta, just wondering because, it's the title of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
With that stunt though, and it's a nice stunt and it feels like a nice, fun thing to give people who have already bought a ticket to go see the movie. But it doesn't feel like a marketing stunt that is going to get people to go to the movie or inform people that the movie exists because it takes place in the place where you would have already had to buy the ticket to be.
Well, yes, because
I mean,
now,
or obviously you may be seeing a different movie and then you see the woman in the yard stunt and then that makes you aware of it. But then what? Okay, I guess if I see a second movie this weekend,
well,
it'll be Woman in the Yard.
that's the thing.
It's like I love the entertainment value of doing this,
Mm-hmm.
but a movie theater, it's like advertising. I mean, I guess you want to advertise toys in a Toys R Us, but you know what I mean. It's like we're already there. They've already bought the ticket. This is a stunt that needed to be done somewhere else
Mm-hmm.
to get people to be aware of Woman in the
Like
Yard.
in people's yards.
Yes. I mean, that's the thing. Yes. I mean, I didn't want to say it, but it needs to be said. They should have sent women in cloaks to just suburban backyards.
It's a raw feed.
Yeah. Fuck it.
That's how you
We're
know.
doing it live.
That's how you know.
That cough is staying in all versions of this podcast.
Yeah.
So,
Everybody always asks, do you do cuts? Do you... No. That's
you heard
proof.
the cough. Yeah.
You heard the cough.
Yeah. And you saw the cough right there in that camera. You're seeing the cough.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, it's nice they sent these actresses in the cloaks to movie theaters, but they should have been in backyards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. I mean, it does. Back in the day, this would work better because people would go to the theater to then choose what they were going to watch.
Right.
And so in this case, we all have our ticket on our phone already. If you have A-list, you can cancel your ticket and then get another ticket if you get excited by a woman in a cloak sitting next to a standee of a woman in a cloak. If that suits your fancy and you're like, oh, I really like that gimmick, I'm going to switch my ticket, you can. But most people, the refunding is going to be hard to do. They already sort of wanted to go see something else.
Right.
So yeah, you're changing horses in midstream, which is not something that I think it's to get people excited to come back.
Yeah. I mean, if you're not going to send these women in cloaks to actual people's homes because you're worried about, I don't know,
The danger.
trespassing, getting
Mhm.
shot on sight,
Yeah.
whatever. They should have stationed them in front of the movie theaters on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Pull the standee out from the lobby, put it on the sidewalk, and just have them bark people into the theater.
Yeah.
And I know that's tougher because I haven't seen this movie, but I don't think the woman in the yard speaks.
Mm-hmm.
But have them just break character and be outside on the sidewalk and just bark people in.
Yeah.
Like they were in Times Square trying to get people into, a comedy club.
Yeah, yeah. Comedians from Chappelle's show.
Exactly. You have the woman in the yard outside saying, comedians from Premium Blend,
Yeah.
Chappelle's show, Lounge Lizards, come see the show, come see the show.
Yeah.
Except, you tweak it so it's like comedians from Premium Blend in this movie, Woman in the Yard.
Yeah.
Come see Woman in the Yard. And they're giving out flyers that have their name on the back of it so that if that person actually goes to Woman in the Yard, that actor gets a percentage of the ticket
Mm-hmm.
or gets stage time
in
Woman in the Yard too.
Yeah.
Yeah. They needed to use those actors out there on the street barking people into the theater.
That's true. Yeah.
Having them in the lobby Yeah, it's as if you had the Times Square Barkers inside of
The club.
inside of the club, inside
Yeah.
of the Go Bananas club itself in the lobby. What does that get you? Those
Yeah,
people are
yeah.
already there for whatever reason. People
Like,
are
come
going.
see the comedians, and they're like, we're here to see the comedians.
Yeah, yeah,
That's why we're in this building.
yeah. That's the same thing. Putting the woman in the yard actors inside of the movie theater is doing that,
Yeah.
which is pointless.
So this is a movie that, horror 9, didn't make it to 10, but beat out Unicorn. Like we said,
Yeah,
if it looks like it's actually going to be scary, that's going to get more people in than something like Death of the Unicorn, which could maybe be scary or maybe be funny, but probably won't be either.
right,
Yeah.
right. So yeah, you know what? This is good. Overperformed. The fact that it was in movie theaters and got this kind of marketing campaign, it'll help it on PVOD. It'll help it on streaming. Obviously, that does nothing for movie theaters, but this 9.5 million that it made this weekend, better than I was expecting it to do.
Mm-hmm.
So solid win for horror that this movie made as much as it did.
Yeah.
So then let's talk about Jesus now. Could we talk about Jesus Christ on this show?
Yes. Yes. Take me back to God's country. Is that what Morgan Whalen did?
He went, yeah, Morgan Whaling, he said, take me back to God's country. He said that, so he after he did whatever his music was on SNL, he posted the take me back to God's country, getting on an airplane. I mean, there's different ways God could interpret that request.
Mhm.
When you're about to get on an airplane and you're saying, take me back to God's country.
Yeah.
You're inviting, which I think would be good for Morgan Whaling's career.
Oh, that's so great. I mean, look at the Big Bopper.
Look at the Big Bopper. The way, just based on his music.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to be remembered at the level of the Big Bopper.
No.
Unless God would have misinterpreted that Instagram story and took him back to God's country in the other way.
Yes.
And then years later, people would have said, oh, Morgan Whaling, he's at Big Bopper level.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I don't think musically he'll be remembered at Big Bopper level.
No.
Unless something like that happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that would help his legacy, I think.
Yeah.
But good for him. He had to get out of the greatest city that's ever been invented.
Absolutely.
As
where
quick as possible.
You can get any sort of food at any time of day. Meet so many interesting people.
Who would want that?
Who would want that?
Who would want
Who
that?
would want that?
Who would want that? So,
let's talk
God's country, though. Let's talk about Jesus Christ
Mm-hmm.
and his just continued box office power. Obviously, Jesus is not maybe at the height he was in the Passion of the Christ days.
No.
Probably that's the pinnacle of his movie stardom career. But Jesus remains just such a consistent, valuable IP.
Yeah. And this is the biggest.
So we're talking about, of course, The Chosen,
The Last Supper.
The Last Supper, Part 1.
Part 1
Of
out of 3.
Yeah.
So we talked last episode
Yeah.
about we weren't sure what this movie was going to do.
Yeah.
But we had
What did it open to again?
11.5.
Wow.
We had a theory
Mm-hmm.
that this could be possibly either the Infinity War
Mm-hmm.
or the Endgame.
Mm-hmm.
But we think part 3 might be Endgame. And then this number 1 is Infinity War.
Okay.
Just because the actual the last part of The Last Supper is going to be like in Endgame, where all of the superheroes come out of the portals and they take on Thanos or whatever. That's going to be all these guys at the table.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yeah. And you're going to see all the characters from other. Yeah, you're going to see probably Moses will show up and Mary Magdalene and all of the big characters.
You think Cain and Abel walk through the portals?
I think Cain and Abel, yeah.
So
They say
11,
Jesus, look to your right, and
yeah,
it's Cain and Abel.
11
It's the
point,
burning bush. Yeah.
11.4, biggest chosen film ever,
Wow.
right? At this point, biggest opening for one. And man, and this is the perfect time because, we were talking, is this too early? But it's not too early because they're timing it correctly for Easter.
Yep.
Second part, third part, each one gets successively longer.
Well, do we think, okay, we're talking about the comparison. This is their Avengers Infinity War, then Avengers Endgame. Obviously, Infinity War is huge, and then Endgame
Was one of the biggest of all time.
Yeah,
Biggest
even
domestic,
bigger.
biggest, yeah.
So do we think parts 1, 2, and 3, it is going to increase in box office, or will it dip? Where the most interest was, let me see the first one.
No,
It's going to be more.
it's going to be, you're building up to, I mean, they're building up to something here.
Yeah, because we haven't
You're not
seen
going to
these
leave before
movies.
dinner.
Yeah.
They probably didn't have dinner yet.
Okay. Well,
Or
they did.
supper. I mean, they call it supper.
Yeah. That's what they called it back then.
Yeah. And they call it
Better
other titles.
times.
So
Yeah.
I don't think they've had the supper yet.
Okay.
Now, the compact critic, Chris Clemmer, has seen this film.
He saw it just this morning. Yeah. So I
Okay.
have not watched the compact critic
Can you
review of the last Supper.
you have his phone number to text him?
I do, but he might be seeing another movie right now. So
Okay.
I don't know if we'd be able to get him to reply on air.
Well, just text him quickly and be like, "Hey, in The Chosen Last Supper Part 1, do they sit down for supper?"
Okay. I'm
and-
asking him right now on
Okay.
the show. Yeah.
And then if he doesn't respond, that's fine. He's doing God squats. He's the compact critic. He's busy. We know he's busy.
So, all right, I just asked him. So we'll find out. I would bet that they have at least set the table. I mean, here's
They've made the
thing.
reservation.
Here's the thing.
They went on Open Table and or Resi.
Yeah.
Resi. We like Resi.
Yeah.
Yeah. They went on Resi and they made the reservation for the Last Supper.
I would bet though that the crucifixion has not happened yet in
No.
part 1.
No.
And would you say that is the biggest draw of the Jesus IP? Is the
Yeah.
crucifixion itself?
Yeah. And we don't even know if this is going to go to the resurrection.
Yeah.
Because then the resurrection, but I mean, I do think the resurrection is the end of this. And then after the resurrection, like I've said before, everything after that is like the Marvels. It's going to be hard for this franchise to do anything once Jesus.
Well, then you have to introduce different dimensions and timelines and stuff like that, and you bring in second Jesuses,
Yes.
know. And again, there's diminishing returns to that as we've seen with the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
But I think that's where the Chosen's going to have to go after these 3 movies.
Yeah.
Is
The multiverse.
the multiverse.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes, you're going to have Jesus from Multiverse 1, Universe 1, talking to Jesus from a different universe.
Yeah.
And they're played by different actors, and people are ready. Is John Krasinski from The Office going to play one of the Jesus in a different multiverse? And then you have Deadpool come in, and he's he's.
I don't even want to think about what Deadpool would A, say to Jesus, or B, do to Jesus.
Right.
I don't want to talk about that.
Right. And then you throw Nice Pool into the mix with these multiverse Jesuses, and Ryan Reynolds, he's eating up there.
Yeah.
So, but that's down the line. Right now, they are in the biggest arc of the Jesus story, which is the supper, the crucifixion, the resurrection. So yeah, these movies are going to be big. Okay, I'm with you now. I think they could keep getting bigger.
I think they get bigger
as we go through.
Yeah, and it's the closer to Easter.
Yeah, people are going to be just more wanting Jesus IP content.
I think so.
So this movie making 11 million is fantastic. It's a Fathom event though, right? So are we getting screenings of this throughout the week, or it was just this weekend? I would assume it's still playing. I'll look right now.
I bet you it plays until Thursday and then the new one comes out, right?
Okay, so this is what we already Compact Critic is he says they did in the first one, In the second they show flash forwards where they were still days away, likely not until part 3. Wait a second. So maybe they didn't get to the supper. I'm a little thrown off by the way he worded that here.
Okay.
They did in the first one I saw. In the second they show flash forwards, but we're still days away. Likely not until part 3. So I guess the supper doesn't get concluded. So it seems like they're drawing out these suppers.
Okay, so they're doing a thing where they're showing part of the supper, they're flashing back.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not a straightforward. So is this the Pulp Fiction of Last Supper movies?
I mean, it would be interesting if Jesus is crucified halfway into the movie and then at the end he's back before the crucifixion happened, just at a diner.
Yeah.
And they get, someone's robbing the diner where Jesus is at.
Yeah.
But we've already seen him get crucified. And we're
Yeah.
like, wait, how's he
still
here?
alive?
Oh, it's the
It's
timeline.
the timeline.
Yeah. No, that would be great. I'd love for The Chosen to take that kind of approach.
Mm-hmm.
And they've earned it at this point. They've put out so many episodes of their show in movie theaters.
Yeah.
Let them really play around with the Jesus.
Get some surf music on the soundtrack.
Yeah.
I mean, has Jesus ever been crucified to surf music?
Not the Mel Gibson didn't do that.
No.
So then probably not.
Yeah.
And was Charlton Heston, he played Moses. He never
Mhm.
played Jesus. And there might have been surf music in Charlton Heston's 10 Commandments movie, but that's just like really when the surf music was in the zeitgeist.
Yeah, so
when they made that movie.
It was just music.
It was just music.
Yeah, that's what people would call music.
Yeah,
was surf music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you considering seeing this, The Chosen, Last Supper, Part 1, or any of these parts yourself in theaters?
Well, here's what I mean. Here's the thing, and I've said that I would not see a movie with Chris Klemmer until I saw one with Kirkman.
Yeah.
But there is something about seeing the part 2 or whatever part where Judas does betray Jesus, and see that movie with Chris Klemmer, and that would be an ultimate heel turn where I've spoken of my loyalty, and then Chris Klemmer, the Compact Critic, is squatting down talking about this movie.
Right.
The one where Judas betrays Jesus.
Right.
And guess who comes into frame, does a heavy squat next to him? Clayton of the Boboys.
Yeah, the new Judas.
The new Judas.
Yeah, Judas for a new generation. Yeah,
yes.
For the Pepsi generation.
Yes, yeah. That would be so brutal and such a heel turn.
Yeah.
That is enticing because of the theatricality of it.
Yeah, you got it.
Thank
you.
There. That did cross my mind.
There's something to that.
There is something. If I'm going to do it, you got to do it big, and you got to do it in a way that is not even ironic. It's like on the nose.
Yeah. I mean, that stunt, I love it. Because I'm anti-loyalty, you know that.
Yes. And you want me to be at your level so you can...
Well, you never be at my level, but you would be showing that loyalty doesn't matter, specifically when there's money to be made.
Yeah.
And that's a situation where the views for that episode of The Compact Critic would be through the roof on all platforms. And
Klemmer will hand me the silver on screen.
Yes.
I'll get the silver coins.
And it would
They'll be chocolate, though, because...
You get them at the concession stand.
Yeah. And it's Easter.
And I think it would be, in the end, even though he would be betrayed by the Judas of the new Pepsi generation, Clayton of the B.O. Boys, it would burnish Kirk Minahan's standing as Podcast Jesus because Podcast Jesus needs to be betrayed. Like
he
original
needs his
Jesus.
Yeah,
he needs his Judas. So I love this scenario.
Yeah.
So we do have to look now and figure out which of these movies has the Judas betrayal scene. It might be this one. It might be part 2 coming out next Friday.
Yeah.
Because Judas, you got to get to that betrayal so that then the crucifixion happens probably in part 3.
Yeah.
Depending again though on if they're doing the Pulp Fiction style, sliding timeline, then
Yeah.
who knows when they're gonna. But yeah, let's look into this and see when the Judas Patrol happens, because I think that might be the one for you to go to.
Yeah.
I'm interested in seeing these because it does feel like this is a movie, because there was that Last Supper, bootleg version that came out last month.
Yeah.
The sort of like, sci-fi movie that comes out that they put on the same week as a new Jurassic Park movie.
It was a carnosaur to the Jurassic Park
Exactly.
of Last Supper movies.
And that came out, obviously, low rent Jesus. I do like that this is a movie that has taken this classic IP, this Jesus IP, and putting some money behind it.
So this Last Supper other movie is way, way down in the charts, but it's still out.
Okay.
It's in 837 theaters.
Wow, that's still a decent amount of theaters.
It has altogether over 3 weekends made $6.2 million. But the company, did we mention that the company that put this out was called Pinnacle Peak?
We probably did then. Yeah, because
But did we mention the fact that Pinnacle and Peak are the same thing?
We probably overlooked that in the moment, because I don't remember making that exact observation.
Yeah.
But again, go into the archives. Did we make this observation then? I don't think so.
Because that feels like that's not even a real studio. It was a thrown together name that someone said, we
Pinnacle,
Pinnacle Peak something.
And the person asking that was like, well, which one?
Yeah.
I don't know, both.
Both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, that was a total bootleg Last Supper. I mean, the thing about the Jesus IP is it's in the public domain. So if
we could make a Jesus movie.
We can make the BO Boys could produce a Last Supper movie if we wanted to, because the Jesus IP, it's like 10,000 Leagues Under the Sea. It's something that anyone could make. You could make
Tarzan. It's
Count of Monte Cristo.
Yeah.
You could put all of them together in your Last Supper movie because it's all in the public domain.
Yeah. It's Steamboat
Willie now.
Willie.
So we could do Steamboat Willie meets Jesus Last Supper presented by
he
the
could
BO
be
Boys.
at the table.
Right. But that's the thing. The Chosen movie, they're not doing that. They're giving you classic Jesus IP.
Yeah.
And I think, it's clear it's resonating. And I'm excited to see what it does over these next 3 weeks. Because I think this, like Jesus, can rise in the box office over these next 3 weeks.
Like, I feel like...
Is that the headline next weekend? If part 2 makes more than part 1 did, is it say he has risen in theatrical box office grosses, in parentheses, but he has risen?
I do wonder if the second part had come out this weekend, if it would have beat the number 1 movie, which is Jason Statham, David Ayers, A Working Man.
Let's get into it. So that's number 1.
Written by
Sly Stallone.
Sly Stallone. So
So
Sly Stallone has a number 1 movie in America, and it's not starring him. It's starring his pen.
Yeah, it's starring his pen and starring his pal from The Expendables, Jason Statham. So this was number 1. This made more than I thought it was going to make.
Both of us.
We were low on this movie.
We thought it wouldn't get close to Beekeeper because A Working Man is such a nebulous sort of descriptor
Yes.
of what this person does.
Yep.
And people disagreed with us. They said, we like Statham. We like David. We want to see someone getting kicking ass.
Yep.
Because they shit 24/7.
Yep.
And when Statham's on screen, they're the fucking boss.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So this is also based on a popular series of books. Did you know this?
I did not know that.
This is an IP.
Weird wild stuff.
But it's as much of an IP as what most book series are, which is most people don't read books,
Right.
especially men.
Right.
So there, Anthony D is for Disney. D'Alessandro made it seem like, oh well, of course this was succeeding because it's based on a popular series of books. Now I mean, we're Reacher guys here,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, if this was a Reacher movie, I would understand that. I don't know this Working Man series. I guess Chuck Dixon writes them,
Okay.
and
Okay. So Anthony D is for Dixon
Dixon.
D'Alessandro.
Yeah, so he thinks that we should know about this series of books,
Mm-hmm.
and we didn't.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the good thing about this is, #1 movie in America. Statham just keeps getting stronger.
Can I just throw this at you real quick
Throw it at
here?
me.
From wannabe oh boy D Thomas. So he wrote this on Twitter X towards us. He said, if they titled The Working Man The Carpenter, you still get the dads, but you could also cause confusion with the church crowd. So we didn't think of that. If this movie is called The Carpenter,
Mm-hmm.
does that make even more money this weekend? Because you still got the working man crowd who
And-
look at it. The carpenter,
Yeah.
that's a real man's job. You're hammering nails. But then you just got another portion of that crowd who's like, oh, that's a Jesus movie.
Yeah.
It's an interesting idea. It's an
That
interesting idea. Of
is.
all the jobs that we threw out last week as possible alt titles,
Yeah.
the plumber and all that, the carpenter might have been the way to go. But you know what? It's hard to argue with calling it Working Man because it's open #1
Yeah.
and made almost as much as The Beekeeper.
Yeah.
So I think the lesson here really is people really love The Beekeeper and they wanted the next Statham movie and they want the next Statham heirs team up.
I love that.
And I'm hearing this movie is not as good as The Beekeeper. It's probably not going to have anywhere near the legs.
Yeah.
But in terms of opening weekend, it capitalized on how much everyone loved The Beekeeper.
Yeah.
And that's what you want if you're a movie star, is you want people to continue to be excited about you. This is so many years into Statham's career.
Yeah.
And something like The Beekeeper just got them more excited for his next movie a year later.
Yeah.
He is just in such a great spot as a this level of action movie star.
And then can be in the big franchise movies like Fast and Furious, and
Yeah.
then the Meg, which is, of course, it's a big shark movie. But other than the fact that there's a big shark in it, the other attraction is him.
Yes.
Because if you put other
course.
people in that part, it would not have the same box office.
No, definitely not. The especially with the first one, the gimmick was giant shark versus Jason Statham.
Yes.
In a way that's not going to work if it's giant shark versus Chad Michael Murray,
Yeah. Yeah.
who's of course the other possibility for any of these movies.
Yeah.
So this is such a solid win for him. Would we say in our rankings of that type of movie star, he's ahead of Jerry Butler?
Of course. Yes. 100%.
100%. Because Jerry Butler doesn't have the Fast and Furious franchise or the Meg franchise.
But also
aside from his B action movie.
Yeah. I mean, he had the Fallen movies.
Yes.
But there hasn't been one of those in years, and I don't know if there's ever going to be another one.
Yeah. He just had Den of Thieves 2.
And a movie like Plane makes less money than a Beekeeper or a Working Man.
Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
a level below. Still a great man.
Oh, of course.
Still
a star to his crowd.
A star to his crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Statham's kind of at the top of the heap in that genre of movie star.
Straight ahead action.
Yeah. And has just been doing it for so long. His run, when you compare it to the runs of the Van Dammes and the Seagal.
Van Damme and Seagal were a blink compared to this.
Yeah. Yeah. As much as they are just have such an impression on our cultural memory, if you actually look at their movie star runs, they are like 8 years.
Well, because I think also their run was during the ages where years felt longer for us.
Yeah.
So the 90s felt so long because we were young and going through all these different changes. And now in our 30s, it's like wait, the transporter was early 2000s? Where did my life go? You know,
Right,
like
right.
that's
So that's more of a philosophical thing for us. But in terms of movie stardom, I think they were also just in the era of action movie stars being at the peak of culture, Planet Hollywood.
yeah.
Right now, there's not a Planet Hollywood situation where you could get Statham, Jerry Butler to go in on together a series of themed restaurants around the country.
So this is great that you brought up Planet Hollywood. Who was the if
Who
action
invests?
stars were going to create a franchise
Right.
of restaurants,
Right.
who would be the four? Because was it four?
It was Schwarzenegger, Stallone. He was in on it, right?
Willis.
Bruce Willis. They let someone else in who was at a lower level, I think. But those are your main three investors. I mean, I'm sure the actual investors were just Wall Street guys.
Yeah,
you know.
but the faces of
Okay, so who's investing in the new version of Planet Hollywood today? I think just Jerry Butler, Jason Statham for sure. The problem is it would be the Chris's, the Marvel guys would want to get in on this.
well,
Like
all,
Robert Downey,
but he's not action.
But he would say he is because he's Iron Man, and he would say, "Oh well, those are the big action movies now." Downey would want to get in on that. He would.
Okay, so sorry, launched in 91. Sylvester Stallone, Bruce Willis, Demi Moore, and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Good for. Okay, so
Yeah, and then further celebrity endorsements include Whoopi Goldberg, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Don Johnson, Cindy Crawford, Melanie Griffith, Tom Arnold, Wesley Snipes,
All right.
Danny Glover, John Hughes, and Roseanne Barr.
So those are just people who are getting like fries named after.
But we're talking the four.
The big four. So it's Statham, Jerry Butler. Right now, who else then are those action stars? Because it's hard to not just. We don't want it to be the Marvel people.
No.
It's not the Chris's. Is it? And it's not Frank Grillo.
Grillo, is it Keanu?
Oh,
with John Wick.
Okay, then it's got to be Keanu, and Keanu then
is number one.
He's number one.
Keanu is the Arnold.
Yeah, yeah. So it's
and no disrespect to Stallone because
he's
a man of letters.
I mean, we've had our issues with this man.
The food is.
We've had our issues with this man, and he's obviously taken legal action against us. But if
we
we're
have
starting
to,
a
Arnie,
Planet Hollywood, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is in on this.
He's Arnie.
He's Arnie, and Keanu, Statham, and Jerry Butler
is still yes.
Yeah. So, and I think he'd want to get on this. Get term. It would be. All the drinks would have to have Terramina. Is it vodka or tequila? Tequila.
Tequila, of course, yeah.
Terramina tequila would be in all the drinks.
Yeah, but that's
So he would. It would be like a mob situation where, like, in the back door, they're just bringing in all this Terramina tequila into the restaurant, and Statham's like, "Don't you think we got enough?" Like, no. We're buying more Terramina for our Planet Hollywood, and that's probably where the whole decline of the business starts, right there.
Well, also that when you go into the bathroom, you have to pee into a Voss bottle, and then you hand it to the attendant.
Yeah, there's no urinal.
There's no urinal. You have to wait for a bottle.
Yeah.
And you have to have aim, and it's like older men don't have the aim to piss into a Voss bottle.
No, for all the guff we gave Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson,
we did give him guff,
and we gave him a lot of guff with the whole peeing in the Voss water bottles. We never did compliment his aim. That he was getting it into that bottle.
Do we know, though?
If that story, if he had missed those Voss water bottles, that story would have noted that, because that would have been such a spectacular piece of journalism to get in there.
Yeah.
So I actually don't think he missed the bottles at all. I think he got them in there because the reporter would not have hidden that.
But was there drippage over the edge?
I don't think so, because again, I think that story, not a hit piece, would have wanted to include that if it had happened. So I think his aim was true, but I do not think that is a good idea when you are planning a series of themed restaurants for the public just to
Exactly.
replace urinals with Voss water bottles on shelves.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think that's the downfall of that Planet Hollywood. But yeah,
And I think The Rock being 17 hours late for the ribbon cutting for the
yes,
opening of the first restaurant would probably be
that would be a problem. All the food would
problem.
get cold.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but you know what? That's your 4 if you're doing the modern version of Planet Hollywood, which I guess Planet Hollywoods do still exist
Yeah, in some
in some form,
capacity.
but they're not the center of culture the way they were when we were kids.
No,
Planet
we
Hollywood was,
dreamed of getting a chance to go to a Planet Hollywood.
Yeah.
Like to see Arnold's jacket from Last Action Hero.
yeah,
I mean, I would have killed somebody for that.
yeah, yeah. So
I would have killed dozens of people.
Oh, you wouldn't went on a spree.
Yeah.
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 So Statham, though, is a modern version of an action movie star. He may not have points on a Planet Hollywood,
Yeah.
but this movie opened number 1. It beat, and I know we said we were done talking about it, but it is shocking that the second weekend of Snow White
Pat, we sat
is
here.
not number 1.
We sat. I said, and I'm not gonna say what you said, because frankly, I don't remember.
Yeah.
I said Snow White number 1, doink
Doink.
of the week,
You
I said
called it the Doink,
of the week.
Yeah.
And we rarely miss on the doink of the week.
No, never.
I think and you can go back in the archives.
Yeah.
I think maybe 3 times in the history
Yeah.
of this did we miss a doink of the week?
Yeah, and this was one of them. We said Snow White number 1 would be a Doink of the week,
And it was
not.
close.
It was
but it's still a doink.
It's still, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
We
yeah.
still missed the doink.
But good for Statham. Good for Statham. Bad for Snow White, but good for Statham to get number 1. This goes on the resume. He opened this movie to number 1, so good for him. Good for David Ayers. Though get to Beekeeper 2. I think that is hopefully the lesson they're learning from this is that people really love that Beekeeper movie.
Yeah.
Let's get that sequel out there.
Well, I mean, if you can do every other year,
Mm-hmm.
Beekeeper 2 next year, Working Man 2, like
Let's see. I mean, I know this movie opened to number 1 and it sort of overperformed our expectations. I do think they should give it a couple of weeks before they greenlight the Working Man 2 sequel.
okay.
Because I
Oh,
know
Working Man.
a Working Man.
It's the Alto Knights, a Working Man.
Working Man.
Speaking of which, do we want to check in on our buddies from Alto Knights and see where they landed this
Sure.
weekend?
And when you say they, you mean Robert De Niro and
And
Robert
Robert
De
De Niro.
Niro and Robert De Niro. Would that movie, The Alto Knights, have done any better if it was called Alto Knights?
Mm-mm.
Well, it couldn't have been
Because that's
of
bad
the
grammar.
Bad grammar. But I do think the bad grammar would have appealed to the audience that is most interested in that kind of movie.
Yeah.
If they had used the purposely incorrect grammar and called it Alto Knights,
Yeah.
I do think that, and listen, I'm from the old neighborhood,
Yeah.
that people from the old neighborhood would have been intrigued by how incorrect that grammar is.
So number 13, according to the numbers.
Not numbers.
No, just the numbers. And not the numbers, but the Alto Knights, 1.1 million, down 65%, 5.5.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this movie's dead. Dogman right under it, 97. I don't know if it's going to get to 100.
What did it make this weekend?
It made
Bob?
850.
So,
And then with Minecraft coming,
yeah, that's it for Dogman.
he's
Oh,
yeah.
it's a shame
He's
that-
outside the shed. He's behind the shed.
That 100 million domestic number,
looks so
still,
nice.
it still has some magic to it.
I know Scott Mendelson has told us not to be focused on that,
But there's something to
there's
it.
something to it.
I wish Dogman could figure out some kind of stunt to get itself under 100 million.
I mean, release the surgery footage.
Right.
Like the actual surgery, like the unedited, accurate dog man surgery.
Yeah, because you
With
know
all
they
the buckets of guts.
you know they animated.
They had to.
They definitely did it because why not? Those animators, they're going to want to see what it would look like. So they
Yeah.
animated the gruesome surgery, put it in for a
'Cause
special weekend re-release.
it influences the character.
Yes.
You got to know what this dog man went through. And so you animate that, and you, even if you're not going to put it in the movie, you watch it so that you can animate the other scenes,
Right.
knowing what you know and what this half man, half dog
Yeah.
went through.
Here's the stunt.
Okay.
Do the producers of Dogman, they use this incredible, this technology that everyone loves.
Do they Ghiblyize it?
Yeah. Do they go to the millions and millions of incredible animators that now exist on Twitter X
Yeah.
and have them do a Studio Ghibli version of the surgery scenes for Dogman? Crowdsource that. It's all going to look amazing because now everyone is a animator at the level of Miyazaki.
Yes.
Everyone is, and they can say that about themselves.
Yeah.
Have them animate those scenes in the style of Studio Ghibli, and that's your re-release of Dogman in 1,000 theaters next weekend. You promise that we've got the Studio Ghibli by Twitter X users version of the surgery scenes we're adding to the end of this movie. And we also added in some Studio Ghibli versions of The Office and Family Guy and The Cleveland Show and South Park. Yeah. And Lord of the Rings, of course. Everyone is that is what entertainment needs to be, is Studio Ghibli versions of the Lord of the Rings trailer.
Yes.
That's what everyone's wanted forever, and now everyone could do it. And you throw that at the end of Dogman, and you put it into an extra 1,000 theaters. Does that get it over 100 million domestic?
100. Yeah, 100. Yeah, absolutely.
100. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. All right, so that's the move then. That is the move they are. I'd love to see that happen.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see the Studio Ghibli version of The Cleveland Show.
Yes.
At the end of that movie.
Because it'll be just as good as anything that a master of animation was able to do over a long, illustrious career.
Yes.
That is something that will be able to be duplicated by a, Twitter goblin.
Yes. And I think it'll be better because it'll be them just saying it into their phone.
Yeah.
And that's how animation.
No pesky, using
your hands and your skills.
Their hands and their skills.
No,
yeah.
just say it into your phone.
Yeah, it's artistry.
Yeah. No, this is better.
Yeah.
So there you go, Dogman. That's how you get yourself over 100 million domestic. So, Clayton, email us, of course.
Can I tease something?
Oh, you're going to tease something.
I just want to tease something for the next
address.
episode because we did not have time because of how much we had to go over all the new movies.
Yeah, so many newbies.
But I think we'd be remiss without mentioning the Looney Tunes situation escalating with the destruction of their home.
Okay.
By Zaslav and his goons. And I think that's something we could talk about next episode.
Yeah, let's tease that for next episode.
We're going to tease that but believe us, as the people talking about the Looney Tunes, one of the only people who are talking about the Looney Tunes and what is happening with them, we need to talk about this.
Yes.
And we will next episode.
Okay,
so that
wow.
Is a tease.
Okay. And also next episode is going to be the big weekend preview of a Minecraft movie.
Yes.
And we will have...
Isn't it the Minecraft movie?
I think it's a Minecraft movie.
Okay.
But you know what? This is who we'll ask. Our chief video game correspondent, Danny of I Screen, You Scream 4.
The number 4.
Number 4 movies. We'll ask him, is it the Minecraft movie or a Minecraft movie? That's the kind of stuff that he will know.
He will know.
Because he's our chief video game correspondent. So a lot of teasing for the next episode. Until then, of course, email us, theboboyspodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on the Substack. Subscribe to the Substack. Lots of great articles there. Follow us on our social media channels at the BO Boys Pod on Twitter X, on Instagram, on TikTok. Wannabe VP of Interns Christopher's killing it with these vertical clips. So, of course, subscribe to our socials. Watch us on YouTube. We are YouTubers. Hey, guys.
Hey, guys.
you're only getting half the story if you only listen. You gotta watch on the BO Boys YouTube network. 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. Clayton, that's it. That's all I got. I got nothing else.
Well, I finished.
Great.
And you've said it all, Pat.
Said it all, yeah.
Maybe too much.
Okay.
There's nothing left to be said.
Nope. So I can leave.
Except for, until next time, we'll smell you at the box office. Nailed it. Hey, guys.